Learn all about living along the northern shore of Lake Chapala, Mexico. From David Huff in this video interview with expats in Mexico. Well, David, good morning. Where are you from?
Well, I'm originally from St. Joseph, Missouri, but my career had taken me to various homes across the United States. So we've been here, though, 10 years, but now I say Mexico's my home, but St. Joseph, Missouri was where I was born.
Why Ajijic?
Well, I guess we were introduced to Mexico in 1986 because there was a private school close to where we were living in St. Joseph, Missouri at the time, and they were having young men brought from various countries, predominantly Mexico, by families that wanted their boys to be brought to the United States to learn English primarily and to be introduced to the culture of the United States, become a little bit more global-minded. Well, doing that for almost 10 years, we had too many families, predominantly again from Mexico, that said, you extended hospitality to our son, we would like you to come and visit our home and that we could return that hospitality. And starting in 1991, we started visiting Mexico and did so every year. And since 1991, over these last, say, 25 years, we've been to 21 of the 32 Mexican states. And so we got a good feel for where we would like to visit versus where we would like to live. And we kept coming back to Ajijic because Ajijic seemed to be the hospitality, the culture, the mixed expatriate Mexican small fishing village environment. I never grew up or worked really in a large metropolitan area, and so I wasn't inclined to the Querétaros or Mexico City or San Luis Potosí, Aguascalientes, these places of 500,000, 1 million, 2 million people. And yet Ajijic was just an hour away from Guadalajara and its 4 million to 5 million population, and yet it offered that cozy little small town fishing village that my wife and I loved. And we discovered we could always go vacation in these other fantastic places in Mexico, but this is where home was.
And you love the weather here.
We love the weather. The weather and the economy, of course, were factors that not only appealed to us, I'm sure, but appealed to other people that have, chosen Mexico for retirement or for just, a new change of experience in life. But I think it was the hospitality of the people, the warmth of the people, but the real culture or the real life of Mexico, the real Mexico for Catherine and I, is this colonial interior of Mexico. And sometimes we just, even when we were vacationing, sometimes we would just hop a bus and we'd be the only gringos, the only English-speaking people on a bus, and we would take off and spend 3-4 days in Aguascalientes or San Luis Potosí or Guanajuato or whatever. And so home was Ajijic, but a whole world of Mexico was opening at our fingertips.
When you said that climate and economic reasons were big draws for the Lake Chapala area, what did you mean by economic? Were you talking about cost of living?
Cost of living, yes.
Yeah.
I think because the Ajijic area apparently has been attracting people Lake Chapala in general has been attracting people probably now for 3 or 4 decades. In fact, we've got some friends that have been here for 15, 20, 25 years. And I think that cost of living, the ability to have a structure already set up that was conducive. I mean, it's easier to do banking here. It's easier to have like the Lake Chapala Society where we can get together with expats, but also have social contacts with the Mexican community, because that's what Catherine and I moved for. Not that we don't like the expatriate community, but we moved here to immerse ourselves in a new culture. My grandparents, my paternal grandparents, had come from Germany and came to be migrants in the United States, and I figured if they could do it, uproot and leave family and friends, why couldn't I do that and have a new life that I thought offered me and my wife better opportunities we couldn't have afforded at maybe 58 to 60 to retire in the United States. And yet I wanted to retire at 60, and I had made financial provisions for it, but it was easier to do it here in Mexico than in the United States.
What's the shopping like here?
Well, I say in that you can find anything here in Ajijic or at Lake Chapala in general that we could have found in the United States where we were living. I mean, since we've been here and that shopping malls have opened up locally, there's a Walmart Supercenter. There's supermarkets that we can shop at, but my wife and I find that the supermarkets take care of like paper good items, but the fresh fruits and vegetables of the local tianguis or street markets have a greater appeal for us. So every Monday morning we drive to Chapala, which is just about a 10-minute drive to the east of us here in Ajijic. In fact, it's the seat of government for our municipality. We can go to their tianguis, which is 8 to 10 blocks, and I swear up and down you could find anything you could ever dream of. You dream of it, and some vendor is selling it at this street market. And on Wednesdays they have the same street market or tianguis here in Ajijic.
Fresh and cheap.
Fresh. I mean, we buy all of our fruits and vegetables, and we've become, and meat and seafood, we've become such regular customers of some of these vendors that I know from just eye observance. When they put those potatoes or those mandarinas or the limes or whatever into the scale, I know they throw on an extra or two and it goes over that kilo or 2 kilo because we are regular customers and they look for us. And I've always been, I'm not here to cheat the Mexicans, but I've always been one that likes to negotiate a price. And so, if I go and if they say the price and I say, menos, a little less than that, and they'll maybe drop a peso or two off of it. And so I find that not only for our food and those kind of items that we have opportunities, but I got tired of the suit and tie routine and the white shirt routine in the United States, so I found a little lady down here that runs a wonderful little clothing mercado in Chapala, and my wife and I do probably 85-90% of our clothing purchases from her because I like color and I like the opportunities to buy something at a fairly reasonable price. And
so compared with living in St. Joseph, Missouri, what percent difference in cost of living overall would you say you're experiencing here in Ajijic?
Well, I've had my family and friends become critical of me because I tell them about my electrical bill. Down here, we get an electrical bill from the utility company every 2 months. And on average, I spend about maybe $10 every 2 months on electricity.
Is this the same home you moved into when you first moved down here?
Yes. I can rent a house, and we were able to rent this house, and hopefully continue to rent this house, for 25 to 30 years for what it would have cost us to buy a house.
How much do you pay for rent?
Right now we're paying $650 a month for a 2-bedroom, 2.5-bath house.
And it's a lovely house, and you've got a very nice garden and backyard. What are the top 3 things you love about living in along Lake Chapala?
The people. I think the Mexican people here, I mean, we have as many Mexican friends and live in our fraccionamiento here is a mixed neighborhood of Mexicans and gringos or expats. I think the opportunity to be just an hour away from Guadalajara offers us that opportunity to go up there periodically. Usually once or twice a year is enough for me. And when you're retired, you find, and when you live in Mexico, you find that time is irrelevant. In fact, they have what they call the Mexican time system, and we, after 10 years, we've learned. I still get impatient occasionally, but we've learned to become very patient, very accepting of the Mexican time frame.
What's your advice for someone who wants to move down here?
Come down with the idea that you want a new adventure in life, that you're willing to expose yourself and immerse yourself into a whole new culture. Don't come down here with the idea that this is going to be a small taste of the United States or Canada. and that you're going to come down here and you're going to live that same kind of lifestyle down here. Because I think in the long run, you can do it, but I think in the long run, you're going to find yourself more disappointed and unhappy with the situation. You've got to come down here with a great deal of patience and respect for the Mexican people and their culture and their traditions. Immerse yourself in it as much as you can. I mean, go to the parades and to the celebrations, and there's a celebration here at Lake Chapala every month. The Mexican people will celebrate. You drop a hat and they'll have a celebration for it. And that means having good tacos and burritos and stuff on the plaza. And you know, you don't go to just a restaurant that has the steak and the mashed potatoes and that you'd have in the United States, but you come and you sit down and you have your tacos and your burritos, and you do it off of a stand where the guy's chopping the meat right there in front of you. And you know it's safe to eat there, because if you see a crowd of Mexicans eating there, you know they're not going to get poisons, and their experience with this vendor, and so you know it's safe for you to eat there. And there's nothing nicer than pulling up to a card table where no two plates match or no two glasses match, and you have a folding chair, and you don't have to have all the ambiance of a fine restaurant in the United States or Canada, but you can sit there with Mexicans around you, listen to somebody strumming some music, and just let life pass you on, and enjoy the little children that are playing like I played in the street when I was back in the 50s growing up, you know, with a stick and a ball even, because we couldn't afford all the fancy things the kids now have. And so if you're coming down here, come down here to become what I call an American or a Canadian Mexican. Don't come down here to say I'm going to continue my lifestyle of a Canadian or United States. And you can do it. And there's fraccionamientos down here where they put the gates out front and everybody just stays to themselves and they don't want to mingle. But enjoy the culture of the Mexican people. And we have a beautiful lake, and the last few years we've had a wonderful rainy season, so the lake is probably as healthy now as it has been in many of those 10 years that we lived here.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you this wonderful morning on the shores of Lake Chapala.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Bob.